Welcome whānau to this Warhammer Underworlds Battle Report with your humble host, New Zealand's #1, the Māori Wargamer. Continuing the Warhammer Underworlds Battle League, featuring 12 warbands fighting for supremacy within the Mirrored City, with the Farstriders taking on Ironskullz Boyz. No underlying narrative to this, just simply throwing models on the tabletop for your entertainment. And we'll be using the rules for Shadespire and Nightvolt. Do not currently have Beastgrave, but we'll make the best of what we've got. So sit back and enjoy, and if you want to see more from me, make sure to subscribe to the Māori Wargamer. I post weekly Warhammer videos and other tabletop gaming stuff. We'll kick into turn 1 with the Farstriders taking it out. So stay with us. Alright, first activation for the Farstriders. Swift Blade moves forward 2 steps into this position here, right next to a dangerous hex. Spectral energies leaking from the Mirrored City. End of his turn, I play deploy card More Choppin'. They may not be graceful duelists, but in Orruks, sheer belligerence and tireless attacks can quickly wear a superior swordsman down. So that will give me an extra attack dice for the first attack action in the next activation, which happens to be my activation now, and we'll make a start with Gurzag Ironskull, leader of the Ironskullz Boyz. Alright, so activation number 1 for Ironskullz Boyz. Ironskull himself is going to lead a charge, powered up with More Choppin'. He's going to move 1, 2, 3 straight into Swift Blade. So he gets to make 2 attacks plus 1 thanks to the ploy. So we'll roll for that now. So Gurzag, Orruk leader, rolling in 3 attacks. He is hitting on hammers and crits. 2 hammers, boy. Yo. Alright, so Elias Swiftblade has suffered 2 wounds by Ironskull's axes. You need to make 2 defense rolls. He's saving on shields or crits. He got 1 shield, so he survives 1, but he takes a wound. And his axes will deliver 3 damage. How much health does he have? 4. 4. So bloodied and bloody. So he's got 1 wound left and manages to survive the rampage of Ironskull. Almeric Eagle Eyes making a move for the second activation for the Farstriders, moving 3 from here, 1, 2, 3, and wielding his Bolt Storm pistol. He's looking to fire 3 shots into one of Ironskull's boys. So 3 shots hitting on swords or crits. 1 hit, and we're going to be saving that on a shield or a crit. So 1 wound, and it deals 1 damage only. So that will inflict 1 damage to Bone Cutter. Almeric Eagle Eyes shot strikes true, dealing damage towards the mighty Bone Cutter. This only angers Ironskullz Boyz even further. Bone Cutter becomes inspired as a result, bellows out a roar. Me Bone Cutter! So he's got 3 health left, and we're going to move into activation number 2 for Ironskullz Boyz. Mighty Bone Cutter dashes across the battlefield towards Almeric Eagle Eye, who wounded him, hefting his big chopper, raising it above his head, and is going to swing in. 2 shots, he will be hitting on hammers or crits. Oh, double crits, baby. Me Bone Cutter! Alright, so Eagle Eye has taken 2 critical hits. He needs to roll 2 critical hits to save this damage. Let's see what he can do. Nothing.
Go.
Go on then. I'll be generous. Oh, nothing.
He's dead.
So Bone Cutter slices in, hacks him. 2 shots, he is dead, deals 6 damage, overwhelming kill, and Mighty Bone Cutter has claimed first blood for Ironskullz Boyz. Victory. Looks like meat is back on the menu, boys. Alright, so end of second activation for Ironskullz Boyz. We've gained a glory point with the death of Almeric Eagle Eye, and spent that on an upgrade for Gurzag. Unkillable. Even without shade glass, Orruks can appear to be oblivious to the effects of death. So this will keep him alive a bit longer than needed, just in case, which will come in handy as he is out and vulnerable in the open. My opponent has played a ploy, Lightning Blow. Swift and Merciless, the Stormcast Rangers are the subtle blade that opens the throat of the enemy. So +1 damage in the next activation, which they happen to be on now. Only one left to move and activate would be your mate there, Farstrider. So we're going to go in third activation for the Farstriders. Alright, so the leader of the Farstriders, Sanson Farstrider himself, strides across the battlefield, Lightning Blow activated, takes a move and fires into Bone Cutter. However, the loss of Almeric Eagle Eye is clearly playing on his mind, and he is distracted and fails to hit his shot. So failed turn, third activation will move into for Ironskullz Boyz. 1 glory to us, 0 to the Stormcast. We'll see what happens. Alright, fine, it's a quick lunch break before we go into the third activation for the Ironskullz Boyz. Currently up ahead, but need to stop for the most important meal of the day after breakfast. So we'll be back with you shortly. End of activation number 3 for Ironskullz Boyz. Hacker or Hucker, move forward 3 spaces, out of range of his enemies there, but advancing. He'll be ready to support Bone Cutter when the time comes. Activation number 4 for my opponent. He drew an objective card, and ended his turn. He claims Skirting Danger. It pays to always have an escape route in mind. So he has 2 surviving units on edge hexes there and there. So we've got 1 glory point, which is going to tie the game, 1 glory apiece, as we move into the final activation for Ironskullz Boyz. Alright, so final activation for turn number 1. Bash and move forward into the no man's land across here. And ending turn number 1, we've downed 1 unit from the Farstriders. We've got 1 inspired unit from Ironskullz Boyz. Neck and neck, 1 glory apiece. We'll see if any objectives were claimed for this turn, and then we'll re-roll and start again for turn number 2 in this Warhammer Underworlds Battle Report. Alright, turn 2, Warhammer Underworlds Farstriders versus Ironskullz Boyz. No objectives gained at the end of turn number 1. Farstrider is going to kick off with turn number 2 as we move into first activation. Alright, so Elias Swiftblade Wounded is going to kick straight in with an attack action. 3 attacks hitting on swords or crits. Straight into Ironskull. Nothing! Yo! Not doing too good today, eh? Into my activation now. Elias fails to land his hit. Blood pouring from his wounds. He's blinded. Unable to make anything, really. Surviving with 1 wound left. Before we end this activation, he plays a card, Warning Cry. The bonds within a ranged attachment are strong indeed, forged through many long years of campaigning together as an isolated force. So Elias is now on guard, preparing for the flurry of blows about to sweep in from Ironskull himself. Activation number 1 for Ironskullz Boyz, turn number 2. Alright, activation number 1 for turn number 2. Ironskull is going to swing in with his boss choppers. 2 attacks. He'll be hitting on hammers or crits. 1 hammer, that's all we need. Alright, so Elias is making a guard action against the attack from Ironskull. Because he's went on guard, he is going to be saving on a shield, a dodge, or a crit. Oh! And that's not enough. Ironskull sweeps in. Blood. Ironskull sweeps in.
Me Ironskull, me kill you.
It's another glory point to Ironskullz Boyz, 2 to me, 1 to the Farstriders. And before we end this activation, I'm going to play a ploy, brutal but cunning. Never underestimate an Orruks' brutal cunning. So after a friendly fighter's attack, I can push him 3 hexes. So I'm just going to 1, 2, 3. Just going to stand next to his buddy over here. As we move into activation number 2 for the Farstriders. Alright, Elias is moving in for his activation number 2, turn number 2. Last surviving member of the Farstriders. He's not going to use his bolt storm pistol, he's going to use his shock hammer. 2 attacks, 1 less attack but a bit more extra damage. He'll be hitting on hammers or crits. 1 crit, so 1 damage. And we're going to be saving on
2 damage.
1 hit. And then we're saving on a shield or a crit, on a crit actually. Awesome. So that deals 2 damage. Bone Cutter Inspired still has 1 health left.
Can I push you 1 hex?
Yeah.
Can I push you onto that hex?
No, you can't push me forward.
It's more sideways.
It's on.
Nah, stay there.
Alright. Alright, end of activation number 2. Before ending that ploy, that turn, my opponent has played the Confusion ploy to swap spots with Bone Cutter. I've spent a glory point to give Aspiring Boss to Hacker right there. Hacker has long desired to lead his own mob. War bosses get the fanciest loot after all. So it's going to power him up when he targets an enemy leader, which he's about to do as we move into turn activation number 2 for Ironskullz Boyz. Activation number 2, Hacker is going to make a charge. 1, 2. Oh, no. He's just going to charge this way. 4 reasons. 4 reasons you have yet to see. So he's rolling in with his chopper, hitting on swords or crits or support. So it's a crit and that's a support. Alright, so with the choppers, if you roll at least 1 crit, this attack action has cleave. So 2 successful attacks, both can't be saved on the shield icon. So you can only save on crits. So you're making 2. And it's black dice. Nothing.
Happy to move.
Chopped in with his choppers. They deal 1 damage each. So 2 damages.
We've got 2 left.
Yeah. He's hoping to be the war boss. It's not going to do well with weak damage like that. However, I'm going to push him. He's going to be pushed back. As we move into activation number 3 for Farstriders. Alright, activation number 3, turn 2. Farstrider has simply drawn an objective card. I'm going to move Bone Cutter forward, and he's going to swing in with his big chopper. He's hitting on hammers or crits. That's a nothing. No luck there. Alright, so end of the final activation for the Farstriders. They've just gone and claimed 3 glory points, Sigmar's finest. Stormcast Rangers are well used to being isolated and outnumbered. Score if your surviving fighters are outnumbered at least 3 to 1, which are outnumbered 4 to 1, so 2 glory. And for this one, bravery is commendable. Bravery untempered by caution will get you killed. Score this if you have at least 1 surviving fighter and none of your fighters suffered any damage in the preceding action phase. So that puts them up to 4 glory to my total of 2. So they've suddenly taken the lead there, Whānau. Into my final activation, however, we'll see what happens. So don't go anywhere. Final activation, just move Basher further along. We're looking to outnumber Farstrider and kill him. So that's the end of turn number 2 with all activations exhausted. Did you claim any objectives this one? I did manage to claim 1 objective, Twilight Conqueror. Score this in an end phase if all of your surviving fighters are neither in your territory nor enemy territory. So we're positioned right along that line as I planned. Well in position to win. So that puts me up to 3 glory. My opponent's on 4. As we move into the final phase, we'll come back to you and see who's going to take out this battle. Ironskullz Boyz versus the Farstriders. Stay with us. Inspired Farstrider has retreated deep into enemy territory, right next to this pit of lava, and it's going to open fire into Bonecutter Inspired. I'm on 3 glory points as Ironskullz Boyz, Farstriders on 4. See what these do. What are you hitting on?
Star Falcon hitting on swords or crits.
Okay. Hey!
That's cocked.
It's not cocked. I can balance the dice on it.
Cocked. Nah, it's cocked.
No, balance the dice on it, not cocked. Boy, my opponent still tries those filthy, dirty tactics as he misses completely and will move into activation for Ironskullz Boyz. First activation, final turn, Hacker. He's going to move forward 1, 2, 3 and swing in with his choppers into Sanson Farstrider. Rolling 2 shots, hitting on swords or crits. Nothing. It's going to end his turn. However, before we do have one ploy to play. Deafening Bellow. Those few who do not fear the Orruks will do all they can to avoid being drenched in their saliva. Choose an enemy fighter adjacent, push that fighter 1 hex. So Hacker. Me Hacker! And he's going to push.
If I could have pushed your guy over here when I beat him onto that hex, why
you
can
can. You've just been pushed. You can't argue that.
Why could I push?
Alright, again, dirtier tactics from my opponent. However, Hacker knocks Farstrider into the lava. Farstrider will take a hit point of damage. Alright, Basher up next. He is going to move 3. 1, 2, 3. My opponent simply just drew another card. Basher is going to swing in with his smashes. He's hitting on swords or crits. Oh, 1 sword. It's enough because he's about to die. So rolling off, he's got 1 health left. 1 shield. Oh, and that is death to Farstrider, death to the enemy warband leader. So that's 1 glory point for defeating him. And then get the boss. Want it dead, smash the head. Want it dead, smash the head. Orruk proverb. So that's 2 glory points. That puts me up to 5. My opponent is on 4. And so we'll quickly wrap up. There's not much he can do unless he's got objectives. But we'll wrap this game right up. Alright, Fano. So, wrapped it up. Fast forward. No objectives gained by my opponent or myself either. So that ended the game. 5 glory to Ironskullz Boyz, 4 to the Farstriders, which equals an Orruk victory. Victory to Ironskullz Boyz. Meaning they'll advance to the next round with their next competitor being the Chosen Axes, the Fire Slayers. What a game it was as well. My first time playing with Ironskullz Boyz. Beefy big monsters. They've got a decent speed and they inspire under cool conditions as well. Their numbers just overwhelmed, plus quick deaths. Did some big damage with Bonecutter and Ironskull. And in the end, that big damage, those early losses of 2/3 of their enemy warband within, I think that was by turn 1, really made a big difference to the way the rest of the game played out. A lot of my opponents' in-game objectives relied on having a few more people available. So that's the way it rolls. But luckily within the Mirrored City, the fighters will be reborn and cursed to fight again and again, to the glee of Ironskull and his voice. And that's another game done. Warhammer Underworlds Battle Report. in this big tournament showdown, facing off 12 of the mightiest warbands within the Mirrored City. Ironskullz Boyz advance. They'll be taking on the Farslayers, known as the Chosen Axes, in the next game, so you don't want to miss out on that. Tune in next week for more exciting action with New Zealand's #1 Maori wargamer. Subscribe, like, share this video, all that good stuff, and we'll see you next time in the Mirrored City. Thanks for watching. Once again, ka kite, ano.